Hello. So, we are going to take some time today to talk about time. Part of the reason why we're doing this retreat is to learn more about ourselves, connect with God, but also create space in our lives so that we can live the life that God has for us. And that really is going to require us to think about time differently, to look at what's on our life map, and to figure out how might we take some things off to create space. And so some of the things that I'll be sharing with you in this should help with that. I'm really looking forward to giving you some of this to work on and to think about. So here we go. We're going to start by asking this question. I think to me, this is one of the most important questions to ask. And and that is was or what is necessary. We go through saying yes to a lot as educators. I can remember having a meeting when I was an instructional coach with a teacher who was newly married. And she had said her husband was complaining because he never saw her. She was always at school or always thinking about school or doing schoolwork. And so we had to talk about that. And I just observed one of her lessons. And she shared with me that she had spent 2 hours putting together a slide deck for that 20-minute lesson. So we really had to talk about this. And I said, all right, what is necessary for your students to be able to learn? You spent a lot of time adding the bells and whistles to your lesson. Were they necessary? What would have been necessary for the learning of your students? So we had a really good discussion about that because I think as teachers, oftentimes we do more than what is necessary because it makes helps us to feel good about ourselves and what we do, and we do live in a culture of comparison, and so we're constantly seeing people put in more time or do more things, um, but is it really making a difference, some of the things that we're doing, and what is it taking away from us as individuals? I always think about this little phrase when author Lisa Turkhurst had said in her book, The Best Yes, when you say yes to something, you say no to something. And so I'm hoping our time together will help us kind of think about what is necessary, and then decide if there are some yeses that need to be nos. So let's jump into that. There are a few different topics we're going to talk about, and we're going to do a little bit of work on our life map. The first thing is really to think about a mission statement. I've got a definition on the screen of a mission statement, and it really, this type of mission statement that we're talking about is really for individuals, not necessarily like a organization. And I know there are many ways to do mission statements, but this is one where I think we could really benefit from going through this process and doing a mission statement for each of our four areas. So really thinking about with my family, what is my mission? With my job, what is my mission in my ministry or my community? To really think about that in a statement that is really what are we called to do in life? Who do we want to be? And what motivates us in those areas? And so, what we're going to do is we're going to look at, first of all, a common mission. And that is this: as Christians, this is our common purpose. I love this verse in Matthew. Um, it's straightforward, and it's a really good guiding mission for us. But again, we can fine tune our own missions that fall under this larger umbrella. So we always kind of want to keep this large mission statement in mind to love God and to love others, but then see how it translates into our individual ones. So when we're writing a mission statement, there are three questions that I would like you to think about. First of all, in each of those areas, what do you do that's unique to you? Okay. So as a mom or a dad, if you're a parent, or as a spouse, or as an educator, what do you do? And so that's going to be, a verb. You're going to have to think of an action, something that you do that is unique to you. Think about who do you serve in that area, and what are the benefits to the people that you're serving. So those might be ways that they grow or change as a result of you fulfilling your mission. So here are some examples. The first one would be an example of somebody writing a mission for their family. And they used three different verbs in this: to nurture, affirm, and prepare my family by meeting their spiritual, physical, and emotional needs so that they are equipped for the future life God has for them. So you can look back and you can see, what do they do? Okay. Who they're serving, and how those people who are serving benefit. Okay, so there are a few more examples here. The second one is really about work. And the third is maybe about friendships or community. So you see some examples, and on your page, your mission statement page, which I hope you've printed. If not, print that out. This is where you'll see these examples and those questions. And this is an opportunity for you to take some time and write a mission statement for each of your 4 areas. Now, a mission statement is something people spend a lot of time on. So this initial mission statement, you could consider a rough draft. Don't worry about, having it just perfect, but start the process of coming up with a statement for each of your 4 areas. All right, and then at that, when you're done, you're going to go to your life map. Now, when I had you work on your life map, I said to put 4 boxes at the bottom of your life map. And this is where you're going to write in the mission statements for each of your 4 areas. So go ahead and take a look at your mission statements and put them on the life map. So that is going to be a task that will take you a little bit of time. So you can either pause right here, do that, and come back. But I also am going to mention a couple other things on this video, things for you to think about. Not that you would necessarily do a lot of work on them right now, but definitely a great source of reflection. And those are other tools that you can use to determine the yeses and nos on your life map. So after you've done your mission statement, some other things to consider, and we'll talk about all of this when we gather tonight, as far as what it looks like on our life map. But you're going to think about automating. All right. Automation is a way of taking things off your plate. And it can require a little time to automate. And I had heard a speaker talk about this. It's really investing in creating things like we would maybe develop procedures or routines. Automation often is thought of when we come up with things in technology, but it's places where we gain time back. I heard an example of automatic bill pay. There are people that set that up on their computer so that their bills are paid automatically every month. They don't have to sit down. They don't have to write checks and worry about that. But it does require time to set it up. It requires time to learn how to set it up. And so when they talk about automation as a investing in time that way, is this particular teacher was saying, yes, something that takes time to set up, but in the end gives us more time to do the things we want to do or to take care of ourselves is a good time investment. So that's one example of a like technological way to automate in your everyday to day life. But you also can develop procedures or routines. Now, I know as educators, we're all about routines. We develop routines with our students. And once we put a routine in place, it's something that we really practice until it becomes automatic. So, a challenge for you, something to reflect on, is what are some routines that you could put in place in your life that would incorporate some of those things that fill you up, so that you develop a routine that is a life-giving routine for yourself. A very simple routine that I saw a teacher put in place was every day during her prep, she would brew a little cup of hazelnut coffee. She would turn on 3 to 5 minutes of worship music, and she would cherish that little cup of coffee and that little time of peace and reflection with the Lord. And that became a routine. That became something that she looked forward to every day in her teaching, and it gave her it brought life into her day and encouraged her. And so that was a very simple routine. So you may develop, think about a routine that you want to do as you come into your classroom or during a prep or lunch. It could be a morning routine that incorporates things that bring you joy, or an end of day routine. But just to think that through and put that into practice. And we know about routines, they don't happen automatically. It takes time to put those in place. But that's one way you can automate and to create space for things that fill you up, that bring you joy. And the other piece is delegate. As educators, we have a very hard time delegating. I remember leaving the school one day at like 5:30 after a meeting, and there was a teacher sitting there who had been teaching for years. And I always noticed she was the first one there and the last one to leave. So I talked to her about this. I said, so tell me, what's going on? You're still here, you're still working. And I asked her some questions. I said, oh no, do you have any like classroom support in your room to help you with some of maybe the day-to-day tasks? And she said that she did have a para. And I asked her, well, so what kinds of things do you ever have your para help you out by maybe making copies for you? And she said, oh yes, but the copies weren't very straight when they came back to me. So I'd always have to go back and do them. Um, and I said, well, do you have parents that maybe can volunteer and help? And she said, oh yeah, but I'd have parents hang up artwork in the wall for me, but it was always crooked. So again, what is necessary? Is it okay if things aren't perfect? But also to like take advantage of other people and bringing other people in to the role of instructing and making your classroom work. So the process of delegation is really to distinguish what's essential from what's additional, what's necessary, and how can we involve ourselves less. And there are many examples of delegation. I think one of my favorites is in the Bible with Moses, and he had a meeting with Jethro. Jethro said, you are wearing yourself out. You are doing way too much. What if you could hand off some of your responsibility to other people? Delegation is a wonderful thing, but it does require time. It requires you to take time to train and explain things to people. It's an initial investment of time, but it pays off. So you need to really think, what are some things that you could delegate? I remember delegating my monthly calendar in my classroom to a parent, where I took some time and I had a parent who volunteered to come in every month and to change things around for the month in my classroom. And it took me some time to train them, to show them where to find things. I had to organize my materials a little bit. I had to show them what it looks like. I gave them a picture of what I wanted it to look like. And after that initial time, this person came in every month. They did that for me. It saved me, probably 30 minutes every month. And that added up to hours where I was able to get home and be with my family. So there are things we can delegate to volunteers. There are things we can delegate to our students. We can put together procedures and routines where they're helping to correct or pass back papers. But we also need to know as we delegate and automate that we need to let go of some of our perfectionism. We need to trust other people to do things, and we need to know that it might not be exactly how we wanted it to be, but it probably will be okay. Um, Really, as we're taking time to automate and delegate, talk to other godly people. Talk to mentors in your building. Listen to what they have to say about how to spend your time. Um, and be willing to try to do things differently, um, in order to create that space for that life that God has for you. Now, after you have maybe thought or reflected a little bit on automating and delegating, you may be able to go back onto your life map and decide, okay, in certain areas, I could automate or delegate. So you can see on my life map that I went, and I said, okay, I can delegate some of my grading, or passing back papers. I could automate ways that I grade. I could put together routines, and chunks of time where I spend on resources. And instead of, the black hole of Pinterest or Teachers Pay Teachers, I could like designate and automate a routine of myself going in and looking and, what does it look like to gather resources, so I'm not doing it all the time. So you can see that there may be areas in each of your life map that you could automate and delegate. And it feels really good to say, oh, yeah, this is an area where I could take that off my plate and I could let it go. I could let it go and give it to somebody else. Also, we'll do more reflecting on our mission statements when we gather tonight and talk about how those also might be a tool to help us um, do some work on our life maps. So, with that being said, I hope that this has been valuable to you. You can look back and watch this, and we will connect later today. I look forward to it. Take care.